Hi and welcome again. This is the orientation of the strut as it's mounted on the engine itself and the suspension. You have to be very sure how to orient the upper and lower cup and the base that goes to the engine bay. It's very difficult. There are no references for it except the pictures and the demonstration I'm gonna show you just now. You can see that the upper cup and the lower cup are in convergence direction while the upper base is on the other side, going in a parallel almost with number 2. This is the upper base while the cups are convergent. So I will show you on the video, and you can refer to the pictures in the beginning of this video to see the orientation, because once you assemble the strut you can't change it. And it's really 3 planes that have to be adjusted. Beside that, it's which one orient with the base that connect to the hub itself. So you can refer to this video to see the orientations and the pictures, which is not available usually anywhere, even on the manual. So beside one step I want to say that so many people will try to renew the old strut. Actually, after calculating money-wise, buying the upper base, which include the upper cup and this rubber black rubber center base also, with the bearings and everything, is very cheap, and it's not worth it to buy the separate parts. It comes all together as a one package with the new screws, and even the strut itself will come with new screws and new nuts. So actually better to buy new stuff. You don't want to disassemble this part again just because you just want to renew the coil or something like that. This is the first thing. Second thing, you don't want to lose the original height of the strut itself, so that's why measure it before the height of the coil between the upper cup and the lower cup, so you can like maintain it. You have to make sure the coil on this Mercedes looks as if it's same, but actually no, there is a bigger ring and a smaller ring. The bigger ring goes to the lower cup and the smaller goes to the upper one. You have to make sure that you don't interfere with the lower ring or the upper ring, so you always compress between. You have to calculate one ring that goes and sit in the lower cup, and then you can use your coil compressor in this distance away from it. Besides, always make sure that you're wearing gloves and protection, because the coil compressor usually make the lathe, the metal lathe, which easily can get into your hands and fingers, and it's very difficult to remove. So always compress with care. You can use the impact wrench, but in such small coils I rather do it manually. Make sure that the spring is beneath the center screw here, because we still have to install the upper base. So just calibrate it so we can like install the upper base, and make sure that you follow the orientation that I put in the beginning of this video. Here the base can, now we can put the upper nut with the washer, so it's the height suitable just to get the nut into this center screw. And now we will compress it according to the measurements we measured before, the old strut, before we dismantle it. We'll use the same instruments as I listed in the instruments needed, and compress it with the respect to the orientation that I mentioned before, to the height of the old strut. You can see here I'm trying just to calibrate that it's within. Torquing eventually won't change this that much, it will change it just 1 millimeter, so give a room for 1-2 millimeters difference later. Now once it's finished, I can dismantle my compressor here. You have to be careful and try not to scratch the metal. This is the orientation again as a video, because it was very hard for me to find the real orientation, so this is just for you to follow. You can see that the upper base goes, it has inclination that goes on the opposite side of the opposite direction of the upper cup and the lower cup. It goes parallel with the lower cup but opposite to the upper cup. So just follow those pictures and video to make it easier for you. Okay, it's now for installation now. Before that, we have to lubricate the bushings that go into that hold the sway bar. I will use the lithium grease or Teflon grease, it's both look good, and clean all the parts that the suspension is going to attach to. I'm gonna install the lower bolt of the stabilizer first because it's easier now. Same procedure as we dismounted, like the number 7 range with the internal hex from the other side, and we will tighten it here and leave it. Now the new screws, which comes with the new upper base for the strut. Now while I'm holding the strut itself, take care that the hub connects to the outer side, and those springs will, the plastic springs will hold it in place until I have the chance to install the screws. We lower the floor jack slowly so that the axe doesn't get out of the gear slowly. I can also like support it with my knee. Now I will finger tight the screws, the upper screws, while I'm holding the strut from inside the wheel place. That I will just hold it against the base and finger tight the upper screws so it sits in its place without any torquing, without any tightening. Now I will maneuver the hub into the base of the struts. As you will see now, I'll just push it front and inside the hub. That's why I lowered the floor jack, and this is where people always get the axe out of the gear. Here I maneuver it front and into the hub itself. I will connect the lower bolt as a secure only, so I can manage the upper bolt to control the camber. I'm gonna switch to the other side now to show you how it's done. Here I can tighten the upper screws. And now it's a matter of camber calibration. You can see that there's no interference with the jack here. And now I can just control the camber. I can use the same bolts if I have assistance, or camber bolts. You can see the upper nut is the nut that controls the camber, so the lower nut actually doesn't allow that much camber change. Just secure it without tightening because it will allow the upper nut to be controlled. Now I will use my digital meter to control. I have to put it exactly the same place that I use it to measure before I dismantle the strut. I have the lines on the disc drawn, so I'm gonna move it, and I registered the angle how it was without any jack, as it is just with the wheel off. This will make me almost have the same camber as before. If I need assistance, somebody will push the disc inside while I tighten the upper nut, or I can use such camber bolt. This is the camber bolt I use for my E39. It's same. You can use this or this as long as you keep your camber. If it's the air bubble scale, you have to we zero it before, so I have to get the zero again. After I secure the camber, I can tighten the stabilizer rod, and of course you can torque now all the screws that we installed in this suspension without the need to raise the car or put the tires. If you watch my video how to register the height before we take the wheel off with the car loaded with the full tank of benzene and driver and passenger in the car. You can register the height. This is the video for how to measure, and it will enable you to torque it. As you see here, I raise it to the exact dimension that was before. I remove the wheel so I can torque everything, including the all the screws that we installed on the suspension. I hope that this video was kind of not long and helpful. Make sure that you watch the video showing how to maintain the space we can torque without having the wheels, especially for people like who do it in the garage. We don't have the upper left. Hope you see you in other videos. Hope you find it useful. Don't forget us, like, subscribe. Bye bye.